Hi guys, Chef Ryan here in the Growing Chefs Ontario classroom kitchen for this month's kids cooking class. For April, we're celebrating Earth Day, and to do that, we're showing you some tips and tricks on how to reduce your food waste. Did you know that about 58% of food produced in Canada is wasted? That's nearly 36 million tons of food. So to help reduce your food waste, we're showing you how to use the entire vegetable. So that's the skin, the leaves, everything. For this recipe, I'm going to be showing you how to make a warm kale and white bean dip. And to go with that, I'm going to be repurposing the kale stems to make the crackers to go with the dip. So let's take a look at everything we'll need for these recipes. To start my kale and white bean dip, I'm going to remove the tender parts of the kale leaves away from the stems. Make sure you're setting the stems off to the side so that we can turn them into crackers later. I have a large pot of salted boiling water that I'm going to blanch the kale leaves in. So now I'll carefully add my kale to the water. You can use a pair of tongs to sort of push the leaves underneath the hot water. We want to cook our kale for about 2 minutes. We want it to soften and turn bright green. While my kale is cooking, I'm going to process my onion. I want to slice my onion very, very thinly. Once my onions are sliced, I'll just set them off to the side. My kale is cooked for about 2 minutes, and you can see it's softened up quite a bit, and it's now a bright green color. So now I'm going to strain it and try to press out as much water as possible. While my kale is cooling, I can start to cook my onions. So I have some olive oil here that I'm going to put in my pan on medium heat. I want to soften my onions, but I don't want to get too dark of a color on them. Next, I'm going to mince my garlic. When I'm mincing my garlic, I like to slice it as thinly as possible and then start rocking my knife back and forth over top. If I sprinkle a little salt on the garlic, it helps keep it all together so I don't have to chase it around the cutting board. Just remember when you're seasoning your dip that you've added some salt already. My onions are nice and soft, so I'm going to add my garlic into them now. And I'll cook that for about 1 minute longer. I want my garlic to be nice and fragrant. And now I can start grating my Parmesan cheese. If you don't have Parmesan cheese, you can use cheddar as well. I can really start to smell that garlic, so I know it's ready. I'm going to add in my cream cheese now and my Parmesan cheese and start melting that all down together. You can use your wooden spoon to sort of break up the cream cheese. While that's melting down, I can start to chop up my kale. So my kale is cool enough for me to handle now. I'm just going to bunch it together and start chopping it up with my knife. I'm looking for my kale to be pretty finely chopped. That's good there, so I can get it into the pan with my cheese and onions now. This is going to slow down that cooking process so that I don't burn my cheese. At this point, I can also add in my Greek yogurt. This will help everything become more dippable. And now it's time for our last ingredient, the white bean. So when you open your can of beans, strain off the liquid but set it aside. You can add some of that liquid back into the beans when you're blending them to make sure they're nice and smooth. I'm just going to add in my white beans and stir everything together and make sure it's hot. I'll also add some more salt and taste it for seasoning. I'm Chef Ryan from Growing Chefs Ontario, and this is my kale and white bean dip. Check out my next video on how to repurpose those kale stems into crackers to go with this dip.